Welcome to TradingMBI.com. This is John. This report is for the 3rd of April. Let's start at the top of the index here, looking at the NASDAQ, and boy, that's a lot of green. I mean, my goodness, there's only just a couple of cells throughout the entire 100 there. Let's look at the S&P, a little bit more of a mixed bag, but still generally in the bullish category. And I think what we're seeing is that we've reached a peak move. Dow, not bad. And then all the high flyers that were looking really ugly before have had a nice rebound. Well within the expectations of that daily MBI and the continued signal. So there it was back here. Moving forward now, you've got the steel dipping across, a little bit of a pivot lower too on the green. That could put some downward pressure on the market. Overall, your trend is still bullish with that straight up line with the red and white and the cyan below. We had our positive extreme. Now the positive extreme right there suggests that low of 76.25 on the ES will get retested. It's just a matter of waiting for that to take place. I would look for the likelihood of that being when the green dips below zero line, typically when it happens. NASDAQ, from its standpoint, we see the dark red, but within the conditions that we talk about for clearing the dark red, it took care of that right before the giant big move there, and not a real problem. Moving pretty good on that. I probably won't show some of these until I've completed them, just so that I don't confuse anyone, because if we just left the regular DOC paint bar, in fact, let's just put that back up there so that we can go over to it and get a nice clean look what it would be. And here's the YM. A little bit more bearish from the YM. You can see that clearly here. The potential is that we could have cyan move above red, white, particularly if this continues, and that would be your first real sell signal. So kind of the inverse where the Dow had been leading, the positive charge, flip around, Dow will lead it a little softer. I mean, we're not talking about anything dramatic here, so it's just sort of like, all right, it's a few points one way or another, and the reality is with enough chop that's built into everything, slight upside bias, but still allows for plenty of shorting in between. And unfortunately, with the individual stocks, it's not like an all one-way ride now. You're going to be bouncing around depending on readings. Speaking of which, here's USO, and that's still clearly within a sell signal. We could be looking for an opportunity to sell put on that one for a turnaround. Gold, I know some people are talking about the potential is you've got your bullish crossover right there. Coming off this deep red, it's not quite ready. Now, if this continues to squeeze a little bit tighter and the steel, the cyan meets the green down here at -7, that would be far more bullish. So definitely keep it on your radar. Intraday would probably be the best way to look at that. And likewise, that could potentially be the same situation here with SLV. The biggest problem is this dip below the red line under this extreme. Any pop's likely to just come back and retest that low, which will throw a lot of people off. Usually does. We liked CLF. We knew that it was facing a little bit of difficulty on the pivot that came across right at this key particular point, but intraday looked pretty decent. We'd come down, made the nice pivot, and started to turn around, and boom, right here where the day opened up and dipped down a little bit, but we had this positive spread here where the cyan moving lower and green. In fact, that cyan was really moving lower. Last time it did that, produced some nice little pops out of it. Definitely worth looking at. AIG right on target with its move, dipped right to where we liked it from the entry point there, and keeps popping back up. Not a shock. It's just flatlining, but it's flatlining from a bullish standpoint where you keep making either higher lower green pivots here, higher red. So all those are building up, and you're just getting a lot of muck from your cyan in that. And that particular point, it's just easy to stick with the basics on it. WLT had a nice run, eased off a little bit, but everyone talks about those being those bullish flags where you pop up, come down, then move back up. But We could see that from right over here as it started to break away to the upside and then completed it. And it's still pretty decent from being above there. You did get the positive extreme, which required the retrace. But overall, these nice little ones. And it was really excellent from SPY to kind of follow that buy and sell signal, because those were really good, particularly coming off of the private Twitter feed. So it made it real easy to follow it. Now, I'm going to do a little bit of advanced setup here. Typically we look for this kind of setup when those with the indicators and looking for short side trades. Second lower pivot green, you've dipped down below. The only thing you were missing was having the cyan move above. So someone seeing the cyan now move above green, and particularly above red, would be thinking, pretty good short. The reality is, while it will be a sell signal, with the steel this low, you're not expecting a whole lot. In fact, it will give you an opportunity, unless the steel really rises dramatically. You can't get to one of these spreads like over here where the steel and cyan move together, and then you have your red, white, and green dipping to give you a nice decay. So just something to bear in mind that might throw some people off. They'd be like, oh, that was a clear short. Well, yeah, it's a clear short signal. The reality is, what is your expectation? With the steel down here in the safety zone, it's exactly why we look at that. Just tells you, don't be looking for, the holy grail of 150 point drop, or even the retest this positive extreme down at 1855. It's not what that's writing at this particular point. Now, obviously, that can move up rather quickly and signal that, but it's not there. So don't want to get premature with that. Always good to look at that. Let's look at the intraday real quick. Intraday, what we've got right here is 5K was really weird. We had the nice bullish move, came up, got extreme. I retraced that, not a big deal, but then it got just mucky with the readings and that. Yeah, we had several of the ones that popped down and they cleared their signals a little early. Like, for instance, it's easy to see it over here where popped up, and it was right about here where the green moved above within the deep red, and then it caught the nice buy, rolled over, did the same thing. So just a kind of choppy Wednesday with a little upside bias coming off that MBI, where we're still within the overall buy signal. Not doing a whole lot at this particular point in the wee hours. Not really expecting anything particular at this particular point, given what we're seeing with the readings. Overall looks okay. And that's pretty much where we're at. We'll leave it there. As always, trade well. We'll talk again tomorrow.